long time I don't make a content video. Welcome back to this channel with me Mogi. In this video I want to discuss something interesting about Korea. What's that? Something that might also make you curious. That is, why Korean people's names are mostly Kim, Lee, and Park. Why do most Korean surnames use that name, especially for Kim? This is the same as why most Vietnamese people have their name Nguyen. It's interesting, but we will only focus on discussing Korea here. So let's just start the discussion after this one intro. So if in Korea, according to The Economist, there are so many people who have the Kim and Lee surnames, it's until one of their own ancestors said, "A stone thrown from the top of Mount Namsan will definitely hit someone with the surname Kim or Lee." Of the approximately 51 meters South Korean population, 1 out of 5 people must be surnamed Kim, or we can also look at this chart. From here, it can be seen that the Kim surname is the most widely used. There are about 21.6%. Then the Lee surname is 14.8%. The same as the Park surname is 8.5%. Just below that there are Choi, Young, and others. From this it can be concluded that the Kim, Lee, and Park surnames are. These 3 surnames when combined can represent almost half of South Korea's population.
But how come there are so many people using that name?
This has something to do with Korean history in the ancient kingdom. The era of the workings was still feudal, or more precisely in the era of the Silla kingdom, which stood from 57 before Christ to 935 Anno Domini. The kingdom which after going through many wars was finally able to unite the Korean peninsula in 668. And here, according to Britannica, there is one noble family named the Kim family. Kim also has a meaning that is, gold. Kim's family is said to be very prominent and ruled the kingdom of Silla for 700 years. So this Kim here is really the highest and most powerful family name in Korea at that time. And the feudal system that was applied in Korea at that time, a system that greatly glorified the nobility, the system that eventually made the Kim family into a noble family that was very much revered.
사회사에서 이제 관계 중에서 1등이라고 했어요. 옛날 인터넷 검색어에서 나와요. 그게 직선으로서 참 총선에서 자부심이 많죠.
The use of the last name by the Korean nobility was actually adopted from the nobility in China. It made their name sound noble. Even if, according to Donald Baker, one of the professors at the University of British Columbia, according to him, the use of last names by Korean royalty is used to make people believe that they are nobles of Chinese descent. Descendants of the nobility who have been in power for a long time, in their Donald Baker said, the nobles tended to adopt surnames, which made it plausible to claim that they had ancestors who came from China, the country most admired by Koreans at the time.
Oh, so that's the first time a surname was used in Korea, to make it look like a Chinese and be considered noble by the citizens.
Yeps. But what we need to know in Korea at that time, not everyone had a family name, not everyone had a surname. Surnames were still rarely used, and at that time it was forbidden to have family names, unless they were from royalty or the new aristocracy. So family names in those days were really something of a luxury. So if they were just commoners, they wouldn't have the chance to have the luxury of a family name. True-la-la, this sounds a little evil. But things began to change slightly after Wang Jian, founder of the Goryeo dynasty, a dynasty that existed from 918 to 1392, began to allow government officials to have surnames, so they are given family names to distinguish them from ordinary people. I think this still sounds a bit evil. Finally, because of this policy, everyone who at that time wanted to take the civil service exam, they are required to have a surname when registering for the exam. And this opportunity was awaited by the common people, who had long wanted to have a noble last name, so that they would be considered as members of the royal family, so that they would be considered nobles too. Of course, at that time, people wanted the name Kim, a family name that many local officials dream of. Finally, at that time, they bought the elite lineage. So like this, for example, they buy an elite lineage. Later on in their genealogy records, they suddenly become connected with people who have the name Kim. Their names are connected when in fact they do not know each other. That sounded really bad at that time. Of course, what was expected at that time was that they would make a new name, with a new surname, like family names starting with their own names. But they don't do that. Hoofed.
Oh, like that? Okay, I understand why they prefer to use a name Kim instead of creating a new surname, because at that time nobility was very exalted. This is why when there is an opportunity, even though this is actually prohibited, those who have money prefer to pay.
Yeps, exactly. And because of this, in the 18th century in Korea, it was said that there were many forgeries of genealogical records. Many people suddenly become noble families after paying. How crazy it is! But not being able to do much at that time, surnames and genealogies were really important. Then a tradition arose which encouraged them to record their own family tree. Wow, this is a unique thing. Imagine what if your name has a noble name too. Hello, Kim. Trulala. Then in 1890 for the class-based social system or caste system in Korea was then abolished. And that means the common people there are allowed to have surnames, allowed to have a family name. Finally, those who previously came from a lower class of society, the majority began to use the surname of landlords. The landlord in this mean like in Japan called daimyo. In the end, the commoners who became his subordinates, who became his people, also used the name Kim. How simple it has become starting to get more and more people finally using the name Kim, followed by the names Lee and Park. After that, the users of these names became more and more after 1909. The census registration law was passed in Korea, and at that time everyone was required to have a last name. So what used to be a last name was just an option, now it's an obligation.
Well, of course it will make the names of Kim, Lee and Park will be more and more.
Yeps like that, because these three names are favorites in Korea. But then the problem at that time was, the kingdom issued a regulation that it was not allowed to marry people with the same surnames, for fear that people will marry their own family. So like this, for example, your surname is Kim and your boyfriend's name is also Kim. Well, of course, you're not allowed to get married.
Oh no, it's starting to get complicated.
Yeah, and you know, even though the lineage of these two people is not related to each other, the person who gets the name Kim from buying is still not allowed to get married. It's really a pity for them, because of buying the surnames of the pair they are separated. The rule not to marry with the same surnames was actually revoked, repealed in 1977 to 1995. Before finally being revoked permanently in 2005. And in the end there it was finally decided that people with the same surname could still marry as long as their relationship was not closer than the order of third cousins.
Yay! But what does third cousin order mean?
It's like we have a cousin, then he also has cousin, his cousin also has another cousin. In another word, the one we can marry is the another cousin. That's what is called a third cousin.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeps. And according to the new Journal of Physics, a journal published by the Institute of Physics and German Physical Society, there are said to be 300 clans in Korea that use the name Kim as their surname. And if this clan is in Korea or where it is called Bangwan, this can be used to show which area we are from. Or it could also be used to distinguish clans that happen to have the same surname. For example, like the Gyeongju Kim and Gimmi Kim clans, like from the same family, right? Even though they are different clans from different regions and different family backgrounds, they are really not related at all in terms of family relations. And most of the family names in these clans, where the clans of these clans originally came from and who is the owner, most of them can't be identified.
But why can't be identified?
Because the possibility is that their surname originated from their grandfather who bought the surname with money, so that they could have a noble family name. So here makes can't be identified.
모든 김씨는 다 같은 김씨인가요?
같지 않죠. 엄청 많아요, 파가. 근데 저는 이제 광산 김씨고, 김씨 중에서도 제가 알기로는 한 10가지는 될 거예요. 나눠지는 게.
Some articles that I read say this is like the name Nguyen in Vietnam. But what makes it different is that Vietnam was chosen because of privilege. And meanwhile, Kim, Lee, and Park in Korea are more because of ingrained admiration, because the original Kim family used to be really adored most. Yash, maybe just like this I can tell you about the origin of the name in Korea. If you have any questions, you can submit it in the comments column below. Alright, goodbye. I'll see you in the next video.